The number one technical problem I see people having when they start their high-level journey is with email deliverability. You set up a calendar system for your client or for yourself, but the reminder goes into the spam folder. No one checks it, and you end up with a bunch of no-shows, and you can't do your email marketing for yourself or for your client, and it ends up being a whole entire disaster. This is why I made this guide. Now, if you haven't watched it yet, this is actually an excerpt from my 10-hour-long course, which is going to be the first link in the description below. Full masterclass on every feature HighLevel has to offer. And this is just a section of that which you can, choose to consume right here, and you can watch this the whole way through. But if you enjoy it, I recommend going on to the actual 10-hour course and watching all of the other sections. An insane amount of effort and rigor has been put into all of these sections, all of these modules. But without further ado, let's get you into the important and primary folders of your leads' Gmail accounts. Let's go.
Yo, what's up? Let's get into email systems. So this is going to be the part of the video where we talk about sending emails, but also setting up our email to be in a way where it gets delivered all the time, every time, in a nice fashion, not into promotion or spam, all these kind of folders. So let's get into it. First of all, we're going to talk about what email is, the ecosystem of how email works, domains, and how we can use them for email deliverability. Then we're going to talk about deliverability itself, authentication, user-reported spam, sender reputation, list hygiene, sending patterns, content assessments, and hard limits, and a whole lot of other stuff, if I'm being entirely honest. And finally, we're going to end up with a conclusion, some quick wins you can do right now, and some guidelines to follow to make sure that your sending habits are very good. So after that, we're going to hop into HighLevel, and we're going to say stuff about the mailbox setup. I'm going to guide you through every single step you need to know about creating users for your domain, buying your domain in the first place, and ensuring that the settings are correct inside of that. Next up, we're going to be setting up our stuff inside of the agency to make sure that we have good sending habits and domains inside of there. Then we're going to do it within the sub account. We're going to authenticate our emails and make sure that all of the records are fine. We're going to ensure that all of the settings within HighLevel are correct within our profiles, within our automations, and within the email section of the marketing tab. And then we're going to quickly verify it to make sure that we've done everything correctly. So let's get into it. What is email? Email essentially is just internet mail. If you imagine a letter that you send to someone, well, it's that, but digitally. In a bit more context, email consists of three parts: headers. This is going to be like from, to, subject, date, etc. The body is going to be some sort of HTML copy, usually just plain text, but sometimes with added stuff, which brings me on to the third part, which is mine parts. This is going to be attachments, inline images, etc., etc., etc. This is compiled and is put into a letter which you can send to another person. Now, if you want to send to them, you need mailboxes for them to send and receive these kind of letters. And this is what SMTP is, essentially, Simple Mail Transfer Protocol. You have services which use mail transfer agents, MTAs, to send and receive letters on both ends. So in a bit more detail, what this looks like for you is you can send emails, compose them, submit them, and queue them to be sent, and you can receive them with inbound MTAs, filtering and rendering them inside of your MUA. MUA basically means your mail user agent. That's like literally what you access the mail through Yahoo, Google, Outlook. Don't worry if this was a bit too fast for you. We're going to get into all of this in a bit later, all of the important stuff from here a bit later. So we're going to talk about filtering. That's the reason it's in bold, because filtering is probably the most important step when it comes to what we want to get out of email. So next up, we have domains. So we've purchased our domain by now. What we need to know is that we purchased this domain test123.com. And not only does this have the ability to host a website on that domain, but we can also attach it to our sending email. We can also create emails through that sending domain, so we can verify that we are from that place, we are from that domain that belongs to us. Thus, our reputation will be adjusted just by ourselves. So we can add some records, we can change some records in the DNS records tab of our registrar, of our domain, and we can rent a mailbox through some sort of service like Google Workspace to make sure that we have our own email. Now, you might ask, why is this so important? Well, if we have test123@gmail.com, the free email you're given by your MUA, well, that lacks quite a lot of things, such as deliverability at scale. You can't send too many emails out of there. Also, brand trust. Well, I mean, you're from gmail.com. Like, what do you mean? Right? Anyone can make that kind of email. They don't know that you're actually from that website. And obviously, you lack ownership. You don't own the email. It can be taken away from you. It's free. And it doesn't really bring any kind of trust with it. Whereas if you have an info or your name at test123.com, people know you're from there. So if you buy and host your email at test123.com, Well, this obviously provides a myriad of benefits. And if you know anything about this, this is very, very obvious. But for those who don't, control over sender reputation. This is maybe the biggest one. Whenever you're receiving or sending these types of mails, whenever filtering happens, one of the biggest things that it takes into account is, well, what kind of reputation do you have? Do you send a bunch of phishing links? Do you send a bunch of weirdly formatted, weirdly named automated email that is very, very suspicious? Because how does it know that? Well, what have you sent in the past from your domain? Now, if you're sending from @gmail.com, it's taking into account everyone who's ever sent from @gmail.com, which is like sometimes good, sometimes bad. So you can like get delivered, sure. Obviously, other things matter as well. But like, imagine if you had a very, very good reputation for your own thing only. Now Gmail's going to be like, okay, this guy's always good. Let's just deliver it. Or you can also authenticate that you're actually coming from there. You can sign your email with your domain. You can authenticate it. You can make sure that everyone knows that it's actually you, increasing trust by a lot. And also you have a bit of clout. Like people know that it's you. It's authenticated. You own the brand. It can't be taken away from you. And it is just a lot cleaner and a lot better for deliverability and pretty much everything at scale. If you actually want to build a brand in the long term. So I definitely recommend it. This, if you buy this email through any sort of workspace provider, we're going to be working with Google Workspace. In this video, it's going to look like this. It's going to look like user@test123.com. It could be info, it could be Danny, it could be whatever. And you usually pay a flat fee for hosting a domain mailbox, and then this scales with the amount of users. So you also pay a smaller fee for every single user that you have inside of your mailbox, every user that has an address. So this is an example that I brought from Charlie Morgan, his email. This is his automated email newsletter to join his free school community. As you can see, it has from Charlie Morgan. That's where they literally send the email from. It has a reply to, which is different to the email. You can see this is Charlie Morgan at Imperium Labs, and this is help at the Imperium agency, which basically entails that he probably has a support person, and they've set up the email in a way where, it seems like it's from his email, which adds trust, but it actually it's directed to a reply to, which isn't him. It's probably someone at customer support. Then he has something that's very important, is mailed by. This is obviously his sending domain. We're going to take a look at what this means and how we can get it for ourselves. This M and number codes at the beginning you shouldn't really worry about. I very, very suspect, I have a high suspicion that this is actually automatically generated by his ESP, his email service provider, which is probably like MailChimp or HighLevel or whatever, but we shouldn't really worry about this. As you can see, it's signed. It's actually authenticated to be from this domain. He has actually set up the records which authenticate that it's him, which we're going to get into in just a second. So also some things we have to go over before we hop into the main subject of deliverability are these terms. So whenever something bounces, it means it fails to deliver. Whenever a hard bounce happens, it fails to deliver for whatever reason. Maybe the email service provider is down. Maybe the email doesn't exist. That's going to be usually the most common one. The email that you're trying to send to doesn't exist. And also it can soft bounce, which means temporarily it failed for whatever reason. Maybe it's just a glitch in the system. Maybe it didn't format it correctly. Maybe it didn't as a subject line. I don't know. I don't even know if that's a problem, not adding a subject line, to be honest. But for some reason, it temporarily failed and it's going to try again in the future. These things are not good for your reputation, and obviously they're not good for your experience, because if you want to send something, obviously you want it to go through. So you're going to try to avoid these. And also, these are the things that could happen whenever you send mail. It could either be rejected, the email is just full stop blocking it, and it doesn't let it through into your UI of whatever MUA you're using, or it could accept it and put it into a certain folder. It could put it into your main folder. It could put it into important folder on some MUAs. It could put it into promotion, which is actually really bad. You want to avoid promotion. And this comes down to wording and a whole lot of different stuff, which we're going to talk about. And spam, obviously spam, the infamous spam folder, or you also want to avoid this. And quarantining is very akin to spam. Some email providers have this, some don't. Okay, cool. So each operated bases filtering upon universal standards and also some of their own policies. These policies and standards are consist of these most important factors. So what this means, by the way, before we actually go on to these most important factors, is that on one mail user, on one operator, on one MUA, let's say you're mailing the same mail to someone on Outlook and someone on Gmail, to one of them, your letter could be received, and to the other one, it couldn't. Like, that's actually a possibility that one of these one of these operators blocks it and the other one lets it through. And that's because of their own policies. Now, to be honest, this is going to be very rare because universally, like almost all of them judge these letters by the same things, but it could happen. I had this with my very first client where the person used Outlook and the invitation wasn't being received and we had to do it manually. So this is something to look out for. If you mess up something and it doesn't like arrive, try again, maybe wait a bit. But if it doesn't, you might have to do it manually. You might have to type a link in or, find some sort of workaround. But this is a possibility. That's why I wrote this out. So let's get into authentication. Authentication just means proving that the email belongs to you, right? The core idea is that the mailbox providers need cryptographic proof that you are who you claim to be. You actually own the thing. This includes SPF, DKIM, and DMARC records. So we're going to go over how to add these in to your DNS records. And it matters a lot because, I mean, if you're not able to prove that you actually own the thing, like that's an instant trust penalty. It's instantly going to signal to Gmail or whatever provider you're using, you're sending from, and also you're trying to send to, that, hey, you're not actually who you pretend to be. And that's like pretty much the worst thing you could possibly do. Next thing is user-reported spam. This is actually what I put into first of all, until I switched it around with authentication. Point being, it's very, very close to first. It's incredibly important. If people are telling the mailboxes that, hey, I don't want to receive this. This is spam. I didn't ask for this. That's the straightest way you can actually go into the spam folder by default. That's the fastest way. People are going to be like, wait, hold on. I mean, if this person isn't asking for this, like, why should we put it into their main folder in the first place? If a bunch of people in the past have told this sender that they're sending bullshit, I mean, we're not even going to put it into the important or main mailboxes. So when people click the spam button, this is when this happens. And this matters so much because these can tank your sender reputation, right? This is why you want to make unsubscribing easy with the one-click unsubscribe at the top of the email and also an unsubscribe link at the bottom, preferably. So we're going to get into, again, how to do this. This is just theory for now. The third thing is sender reputation. Again, this is that every IP has a score, and this tracks in the past how users received your mail. Did they actually open them? Did they bounce? Did they spend a lot of time reading them? Did they go to a link? Did they click? Even clicking spam to an extent is reputation. So that as well, and any sort of historical behavior falls into this category. And it matters a lot because reputation determines inbox versus promotions versus spam. Where do we put this person, right? This is probably the driver of those kind of behaviors when it comes to filtering. And bad reputation really does compound over time. If you send to emails that don't exist, if the people who your emails get delivered to don't open them, or maybe even they delete them or put them into spam, that's not too good for your reputation for understandable reasons. The next thing is list hygiene. What list hygiene means is if you email someone who doesn't exist, for example, they're hard bounces or soft bounces or whatever, that's also very bad. It ties back into reputation. If you purchase these links, lists, sorry, what this means, by the way, for someone who isn't aware, a lot of times when businesses try to do outreach, they purchase email lists of existing leads of businesses instead of just finding them themselves on like Google Maps or Google Search or something like this. They might just purchase a whole lot of them at once and just blast them with emails or SMS. And this tends to be like decent in some instances, but a lot of time this is illegal, and a lot of times it's not even good to do it because these lists have businesses who are no longer active, that maybe didn't even exist in the first place, and the list is scammy, and they just sold it so they could get a quick buck. And also, these often didn't give you consent to opt in. Now, this is different based on region where you're at, but it's not the best practical thing to do. And also, if you do buy some, because sometimes it is actually advantageous and sometimes legal, just make sure that you're not sending to lists of people that don't exist. And if you do, there's a setting in HighLevel which you can enable, which verifies before sending to an email if the email actually exists, which is very important. We're going to go over how to include that actually, because that just stops hard bouncing altogether. Number 5, sending patterns, okay? Consistency signals legitimacy. If you send like a human, there's time between your messages, the amount of time between your messages is different. That will look realistic. If you warm up your email inbox, if you buy an email inbox, if you buy a email right now, you buy info@s123.com and you send 1,000 messages in the next second, automated, that's a bit suspicious, You've never sent a message before and now you're sending 1,000. You gradually need to warm it up. You need stable schedules in the micro, which means, send your messages throughout the day, throughout the hour, not in the same minute, not in the same hour, etc., but also in the macro, like send messages every day. not just on the first of the month and then nothing for the rest. You kind of need to like thin your schedule out in a sense as much as possible. You need to spread these messages out as much as possible, especially in the beginning. Some Insta red flags, as I said, are some sudden volume spikes and irregular sending. These kind of behaviors, these MUAs really don't like. So your job is to avoid these kind of behaviors. And we have content assessment. It looks like you missed an S out here. Is it like this on the other tabs as well? Yeah, damn, I missed out an S. Whatever. Content assessment. The core idea is the content is evaluated in context. So a lot of the words you send even matter. A lot of the times people try to use weird wording, or they used to use numbers instead of letters in some scammy words like free or offer or stuff like this that are like often included in like spammy salesy letters. They try to work around them and stuff like this just so they can avoid the promotion tab. So this is what a lot of times filtering comes down to, is what kind of verbiage are you using, what kind of message are you trying to get across, how many images, how many links do you have in your text. Because if it's just a text and if it's an actual story that's cohesive and it doesn't include a lot of marketing talk, well, that's a real mail. It looks realistic. It's like something you would send your grandmother. But if it's just like, hey, click this link right now, sale 50% off, it's going to be like, hold on, what is happening here? So that means a lot. It really does matter a lot. And if you include like a bunch of these spammy words, it might not alone kill deliverability, but it's definitely going to hinder it, and it's definitely going to be bad for your reputation. So just be aware of what you're doing when you're doing it. And finally, some hard limits. You're not really going to run into this too much, but there are some genuine limits which you just can't outdo, especially in the beginning. Just don't try to spend so much mail in the first day that you purchase your domain, and again, just scatter that out. Try to not send blocked mail, email addresses, etc., etc. This is quite self-explanatory. You're probably not going to reach this, but I had to include it because there are some hard limits built into your mailbox providers and email service providers that you just want to avoid. So HighLevel, by the way, if you notice this, a lot of these actually like lead into the other one, like list hygiene, it leads into sender reputation. And also user reported spam is also something to do with sender reputation, but also sending patterns is something to do with hard limits. So I use this analogy of just living a healthy lifestyle. Like, what does that really mean? Right? It doesn't just mean eating healthy. It means eating healthy, doing exercise, drinking water, sleeping enough, and all of them kind of help each other. They're all interlinked. If you sleep a lot, you're going to have more willpower and more energy in the next day. You might go to the gym the next day. And if you go to the gym, you might lose some weight and you might be more motivated to eat healthy. And if you eat healthy, you're going to sleep better. And it's all like linked together. And it's the same with email. Just be a normal human being with not scammy and spammy behaviors, and you should be fine. It's kind of the same thing where it's not just do this one thing, it's kind of behave in a normal, good, healthy way, and you should be fine. So that's kind of how I want you to think of this. Now, a quick conclusion before we head into HighLevel. We'll do all of this stuff in a sec, which will lead to you being on the better side of email, definitely. And the final thing I want you to keep in mind is that we want to encourage unsubscribing, okay? Because if we leave this one-click unsubscribe at the top and an unsubscribe button here at the bottom, which is clearly visible, then the people won't be reporting us for spam as often, which is very important. This is what it will look like, by the way, if you unsubscribe. On the user side, you can go here, manage unsubscriptions, and unsubscribe to anything that you're subscribed to here. And also you can just, this is what it will look like in HighLevel in the conversations tab. Someone enabled DND, this is what it looks like. This is what HighLevel recommends for warming your email up, very important. This is the max that you should be sending per hour and per day. This is the very max, in my opinion. Like, even this is a bit too much. And you should only start sending this once everything else is done, once you've set up all your records and everything correctly. So just be very aware of this. I'm also going to leave this guide in the description, by the way, on School, as always, if you're interested. This is what spacing them out looks like. Now, unfortunately, on the right side, you can't really see how many minutes and how many hours went in between these letters. But this was on the first day. I used a mailbox warm-up service, or whatever you call them. You can Google this. I think I used Instantly. Some of these services warm up your mailbox for you, which means basically they put in everyone who's using their service. So they put in like hundreds of emails into this one group, and you're sending these emails that are automatically generated, but very, very human-like to each other. So as you can see, new opportunity. Hello, Daniel. I hope you're having a good day. And this is sent like maybe at, I don't know, 2 p.m. Next one is sent at 3 p.m. 15. The next one is sent at 3 p.m. 46. And, it's just like random intervals between them. All of them are very, very natural. You could do some of this your own and just send it to your friends and shit like this, like very realistic emails. But this is what warming up looks like. And if you actually plan on sending mass emails, as I did back in 2023, then I recommend you do this as well. And finally, I think avoiding bad lists, it just means just don't buy fucking untrustworthy lists. I've seen a lot of people get burned by this and their reputation just tarnished within the first month of them buying the new email mailbox. So just don't do this. And if you do, verify them with HighLevel, any kind of third-party program if you wish. But you can just do it in HighLevel. So just do it in HighLevel. And avoid these to make sure that your ESP doesn't bounce. Cool. With that said, I hope that really cleared the air. I know it can be a lot, especially in the beginning, but if you want, you can go over this theory section one more time or whenever you see it necessary. But without further ado, let's actually hop into HighLevel and do all of the things which we promised we would do to make sure that our email is set up for success in the future. Let's pick up exactly where we left off and make us an email mailbox. So to make this, we're going to go on a mailbox provider website. We're going to click on Google Workspace. The link is workspace.google.com, but you'll find it if you just search for it like I did. Let's get started and actually begin our registration. So I'm going to type HighLevel Clinic in here. It's just me. I'm kind of switching between Hungary and the UK, but I'm here right now, so I guess I'll just go with this one. I think I can change it retrospectively, so it's not that big of a deal. I'm going to autofill this with my information. I'm actually going to change this email to the one I'm using as a kind of a throwaway email right now, because I already have another Workspace account registered on the main one. So I'm going to use the domain we just bought, which is an existing domain. I'm not going to buy one with Google right now. And I'm going to add HighLevel Clinic into here because that's the one I'm going to be using. Cool. Now that we have this domain in here, let's go on to the next and let's finally create our own account. So mine will be Danny@highlevel.com. This is very important that you don't fuck this up because this is going to be your email, the one that you actually use. So make sure you type the right one there. And let's just type the password that I always use, which you shouldn't be able to see right now. Cool. You don't have to tick any of these. The TOS is already ticked by default. So you just got to agree and continue. And once you've done that, it should be pretty smooth sailing from here. I think it's going to prompt us to a checkout page. And if that is the case, I'm probably going to blur a thing or two, or maybe even skip this altogether. Yep, okay, exactly what I thought. What I'm going to do before I skip this part is I'm going to switch to the annual plan because there's really no reason not to. This is still monthly billing if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it's monthly billing still, but you just can't cancel it. But you're not going to cancel it anyway, right? At least not for a while. So I think it's just worth it to go with the annual plan. This is what I'm going to do. Of course, we have to accept this mandatory 14-day free trial. And we get a bunch of bonuses as well. This is actually worth reading, in my opinion, because like the 5 terabytes of storage in the drive is very important, very useful. So yeah, this is what I'm going to be going with. I'm going to fill this information. It's pretty self-explanatory, but I'm going to cut here for obvious reasons. Okay, cool. So once we've gone through with the payment and Google has authorized our card, we should be seeing this kind of screen. So we are prompted to set up our domain. First of all, we're going to verify that we actually own this. And then we're going to set up our Gmail. So let's get started with that. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to add some DNS settings. Now we're going to switch to manual verification because HighLevel isn't listed in this list of domains, which isn't too big of a problem, to be honest, because it's actually quite simple. It's really self-explanatory. So we need to add the TXT record. If you're not already here from the stuff we did in the last video, all you need to do is you need to click on your sub-account, go to settings, and inside of the sub-account settings, you'll find domains and select your domain. Within the domain, you want to go to DNS records and you want to be adding a record here in the top right corner. So we're going to be adding a TXT record in the beginning. If you remember, the name of the record is default, or in this case, in HighLevel, we have to add an @ if we're going for the root domain, which we are. And the value is the only thing we're going to have to copy over. We're going to copy it into the content value, much the same thing, and the TTL, as pretty much always, can be left on auto. At least in our cases, it can. So we've added that. I'm going to wait a few seconds. Then I'm going to tick this. We're going to verify that we have actually done it. And let's click confirm. It should sense that we've done a good job in a few seconds. Oh, that was actually a bit quicker than expected. Cool. Let's activate our Gmail. It's probably going to be something very, very similar. I assume it's going to have us set up some MX records. Maybe a DKIM. Yeah, there we go, MX records. Switch to manual verification again. Same thing we just did. Continue. Yeah, with this one, what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to set a priority. That's something that's a bit special about MX records. We're going to add the name at again. We're going to put SMTP to the mail server. We're going to add one priority. I think it was 1. Yeah, that makes sense. Leave the TTL on auto and save. If this is a bit fast for you, you can pause, rewind anytime you need. It's pretty self-explanatory. Even without the video, you should be able to do this, to be honest. And let's just wait a few seconds again. Take this and click on confirm. Cool. That's done as well. Gmail is now ready. Let's authenticate our email with setting up a DKIM record, which is very, very important. This is going to be one of the few things we're going to do, which is absolutely utmost importance that you do. Switch to manual verification. Same stuff again. We're going to go with the 2048 key. That's pretty much what you'll be using for any modern mailbox provider. Okay, with this one, we need to do a bit more copying. So this is also going to be a TXT record. With a TXT, the name we're going to have to copy. It's the domain key and the value. Of course, we're going to have to copy because we're not going to type all of this out. So yeah, the TTL, as always, can be left on default. And let's save this as well. Same routine. Wait a few seconds, mess around here, tick, come back here and confirm. And then let's actually click on the confirm button. This should understand the sensed it in a few seconds, and there we go. It says we're all done. Cool. So let's explore Google Workspace. We should be put into our Workspace account. To be honest, I'm not really going to personalize the setup too much. I'm just going to continue on all of these things. Yeah, it's really not that important. We're going to be using... we're going to be using this for the most part to actually just use HighLevel and send emails from there. So with this, we're mostly done. Now, if you want to, you can look through this. You can add team members if you want. This is actually pretty important, so I would enable two-step verification if I were you. You can also look through this stuff like Gemini and a Workspace and all of that, but it's really not that important. So I'm just going to look through my account really quick. I'm going to set a profile picture and that kind of stuff, but it's not worth overthinking and spending too much time on doing this stuff. Okay, I finished a few basic security setups. I verified my email and my phone number. Nothing too significant. I also added this two-factor authentication, but other than that, there's nothing really more that we have to do inside of our email. Okay, so next up, we're going to be adding 2 more DNS records into here, including the DMARC and the SPF records. I'm going to be leaving a link in the description for the DMARC one. This is pretty much like the policy of your email, how it sends, how it receives. It's a bit complicated. You don't need to know the whole thing. Point being, you can click through, answer a few questions, and it will create the one for you. However, I'll be leaving a line of code in the description. Again, if you're watching at school, as I've probably said 1,000 times so far, you should be able to get this code just from the description and actually just copy it for yourself. I recommend you do, because this should work for like 99% of people who are starting out. It's one of the most basic lines of code you can have. So let's just add the record here. Type is going to be TXT. In the content, let's paste, in the name, we want to paste this underscore DMARC record to signal that this is going to be a DMARC record. And then the other line of code, the content, is what we want to be pasting into here. That's going to be this DMARC1 type record. So let's save this. And also for the SPF, I highly recommend you just copy this over. It's going to be in the description as well, but you can look into it if you want. This will be the code that we add. We can just add an @ in this case, into the name to signal that we're just talking to the root domain here, and add this SPF record. Let's save it. Cool. So once we're done, what we want to do is we want to compose an email. I'm just going to send this to like a burner account that I have. Like, let's go with this one. Cool. And let's actually set the subject to literally anything. Also, content anything. We're just sending this to actually like verify that we have set up all of these records correctly. So let's send this mail. Okay, cool. I got the letter. It's here. I opened it up. And what we want to do once we've opened it, we want to click these 3 dots. And we want to click on Show Original. This is going to open us up the HTML. And if you can see, the SPF, the DKIM, and the DMARC, all three went through. They all passed, which is amazing news. Okay, cool. We should be done for the most part within the email system of our domain for now. We added mostly the correct DNS records. What we want to do now is we want to go into the agency part of our account, and we want to go into the settings, and we want to configure a dedicated subdomain, sending domain, so to speak, in the email services part. I misclicked, to actually increase our sender reputation and deliverability in total. So as you can see, I already clicked this and it's already prompting me to create a dedicated domain. I can just click this, or I can click this button up here in the top right corner. What we want to do is add a domain here, and this should be like, you can see it's like lc.mydomain.com. I usually go with send.mydomain.com. So we're going to go HighLevel Clinic, obviously your own domain in this case, and we're going to click on add and verify. This is going to prompt us with adding a bunch of records. As you can see, if I just click on add manually, it's going to open up. Yeah, we're going to have to add all of these. Now, hopefully this is going to be able to add all of this stuff into my account without me having to do so. Let's see if it can auto configure by just clicking on this button here. Let's continue. As you can see, it's adding the SPF domain. This top one is that. The bottom one is a DMARC record. So it's kind of doing for the subdomain, which we already did for the main one, which means we will be able to send with both. But let's just stick to this for now. Let's click on verify records. Let's see if it added them automatically, which would be really nice, because then we wouldn't have to add all of these one by one. But it seems like it didn't work. So in that case, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go back into my sub account, go into my domains, and add it myself manually. Shouldn't be any harder than what we've done before. Just again, go to DNS records, click on add record, and let's go through this one by one. So the top one is send to this value. So we're gonna, it's a CXT record, of course. So we're gonna go with send value. This is just an SPF record. The next one, let's go with that. TXT, it's send again, isn't it? No, it's not. That's actually, oh, it's an MX record. Okay, there we go. There we go. Oh, actually, it's a TXT record, but with this like sending domain key or whatever that means. Okay, let's add that. It should be pretty easy to do from this point on. Email.send CNAME. Okay, let's keep that in mind. Email.send to this target. Okay. Yeah, okay, we did that correctly. Let's verify that. Well, let's add it for now. Send to this mailgun. That's an MX record because it has a priority. Yep, okay, just send, and let's add a priority of 10. And if I'm not mistaken, the next one should just be pretty much this, with a B here instead of an A. Okay, let's copy that. Let's go with MX, target send, mail server, mailgun. Let's go up to 10. Auto TTL, yeah, it doesn't even show that anywhere. It's just go with default, right? And then let's add this DMARC, finally. This is going to be the last one. Cool. So once we've added all of these, we can come back here, wait a few seconds, and click verify. You can also try the auto configure. It might work in your case. In mine, it didn't. I might just have to wait a bit longer, to be honest. But whatever, I just did it manually. Let's click on verify domain. Now it should hopefully work for all of them. Cool. Okay, so as you can see, this is good, and this is here. If we click on verify stats, let's see if all of them are verified. The DMARC isn't verified yet. I wonder if there's a specific reason for that. DMARC send, no, it's here. It's probably just going to take a little while, which is totally fine. Let's try to verify it again. Yep, there we go. I think it worked. It says active, and the SSL is issued, which is wonderful. If I go to verify, I think it should be good now. Yeah, there we go. Cool. We just need to wait a bit extra. And yeah, that should be our agency level sending domain. So what this means is if you make a sub account, it will automatically send from this dedicated domain, which means you won't have to be sending through Lead Connector's domain, because if you remember, here in the beginning it said something like send.messagesender.com, which is the domain of Lead Connector, which is like cool, but the thing is, everyone who uses HighLevel sends from this. So you're using their reputation, which probably isn't that good, because those are the unconfigured accounts. Whereas if you're using this is a domain that's yours, it's been authenticated, it's been signed, and the sending reputation will only depend from what you've sent from it, or your clients, right? So what you can do is you can go into your account. You can make a different one for yourself if you just want to be dependent on yourself, right? If you're going to have like a whole lot of clients, it's probably worth setting up this exact thing which we did for yourself in this SMTP. As you can see, because this is a sub-account of the agency, it's automatically gone onto this. But what you can do if you want is you can add a dedicated domain again, exactly what we did, just for yourself. So we could do like, we did send, we could just do like dannyGHL.highlevelclinic.com, or you could just do like mg or mail or something like that .highlevelclinic.com if you want. Now, I'm probably not going to have an infinite amount of clients on this sub-account in this agency, because first of all, I just started this agency. As you can see, there's nothing in here for the sake of this tutorial. And secondly, if you've already watched my content, I'm not a huge fan of having like hundreds of clients. So it's probably not going to be that kind of thing for me. So I'm just going to leave this as it is. And yeah, let's get into wrapping this video up with just a few more settings that we need to do. Okay, cool. Just so you know, the thing we did right now, all of these domains, why there's 15 of them now. So there's two parts to this whole thing. First of all, we have our regular sending domain, which is signaled by these, @ signals. So this means we're talking about the root domain here, this HighLevel Clinic thing. And whenever we're talking about this is kind of what will happen when we just log into our Gmail. And I'm sending from danny@highlevelclinic.com, right? And what we did here, like at least in the SPF domain, SPF record, let's just explain this. We like regulated ourselves, we authenticated ourselves to send from google.com, to send from our Gmail account. So we can do this now, right? And it's going to be in alignment with all of the other records. However, when we use the sending domain, send.highlevel.com, which we just set up, that is actually done in a way where, let me find that record. It's actually probably on the second page as well. Let's see. Why can't I find it? Hey, oh, it's here. Okay. So it's SPF lead connector HQ.com and Mailgun. So these are the services HighLevel uses to send email. So it's authenticating whenever I'm sending through send dot, obviously like the root domain here, .highlevelclinic.com, I'm actually authenticating myself to send through these. So in this sense, I'm going to be able to use my regular domain, just like my Gmail account. And also I'm going to be able to send like en masse through HighLevel, through the automations and the email campaign page while using these services. So it's authenticating myself to do that. Now, we've already verified that when I send through this, it's good. That's what we looked at the show original, like the HTML thing for just now, when we saw that all three records passed. Let's do the same exact thing for this, okay? Now, before we do that, there's a few settings I want to go over. So let's just look at the email systems tab one last time. Email services, actually, it's titled here. So one more thing, again, you can actually make a dedicated domain within the sub-accounts. It's really up to you. I don't think it's super important in the beginning, especially. We want to actually go into forwarding address and reply address. Now, I don't necessarily need a forwarding address. What this will do is like, you will receive these emails not only in the conversation view, but it will automatically forward it to you. I don't need this, but what I do kind of want is a reply address. Okay, so when you don't want your main mail, which you're going to be sending with, to be like clogged up, you can set a reply address. And actually, let me find an example for you. So here's an email from Charlie Morgan, and as you can see, it's coming from his like official Imperium email. However, if you reply, it will automatically go to the help at the Imperium agency email. And this is important because he's using his main mail to kind of like seem legit. But also, if you reply to him, it's going to go to the customer support email. So if you want to install a similar system, this is the page you must be looking at, right? You must be in here and you must add an email here. So in this case, I'm just going to keep it the same one. I'm just going to type in highlevelclinic.com. I don't even have to do this, I think, because it's going to be this by default, but I'm just going to add it to make sure. That's one thing you can do. Now, in the analytics, you will see every single thing you need to know. Pretty important. The stuff you should be really looking out for is like the bottom row, especially complained, failed, but also bounced. Unsubscribed isn't that big of a deal, as we've already established. The rest are, okay? So you want to go for as big as a big of a reply rate as possible. You want people to be opening them. You'll be able to see this here. Also, the risk assessment is going to be important. It's going to have like percentages here based on how much you're sending to your list and how much it's delivering and all of that stuff. Bounce classification. This is also just risk evaluation, essentially. And Postmaster tools, you're probably not going to be using this, but this is like if you're going to be linking to Google Postmaster, this is where you're going to be looking at that kind of stuff. So that's email services. One more thing in your business profile. If you go down here, I think I mentioned this in the presentation, but this should almost always be ticked. Okay, this is actually costing you like, I think it's 0.0025 dollars. Yeah, there you go. That amount of money, which is very little, right? But what it means is every single time you send an email address it's pretty much going to prevent it from bouncing, or hard bouncing at least, because it's going to make sure that it's a legit address before it sends. And this way you can like dodge third-party verification tools, and you can also dodge getting your sender reputation tarnished, because what happens if you send to a bunch of non-existing emails as your reputation goes down into the dumpster? So you don't want that. And also, this is something that if you send to an email that exists, but it's like a bot account, and they'll never really interact with it. That's like, again, interaction is important. So this is also a part of your sender reputation. So you might as well tick this as well. So especially this, but also maybe this setting. They're both quite important. So I recommend ticking these. So let's go into workflows. Anyone, just to confirm that this stuff actually works. And if we send through the sender email, if we send an automated HighLevel email, it will look just as we want it to. So let's go into the settings. One thing you need to know is in the settings of the workflow, we're going to be talking about workflows shortly, but this is just to test the thing out. Here in the sender details, this is the name, the from name where it will appear, and this is also the email which it will come from. Now, if you type just like your clean domain, it's going to kind of mess it up. So this is going to be like the beginning. It's going to put like pluses here, and it's going to be like @send.highlevelclinic.com. Problem with this is that it looks disgusting. It's not that actually bad. I don't think it tarnishes anything when it comes to like reputation or deliverability. But the thing is, this is like fixed. You're sending through this sending domain. So if you add anything that isn't this, such as this, like actually, was that good by default? Anyway, if you add this, like if you add this to the end, right? If you try to send through this, it's just going to say that no, we're not doing that. And then it's just going to take this as the user handle. And then it's going to have like highlevelclinic.com. Actually, send.highlevelclinic. Damn, I miswrote it again. So it's going to have that, which looks a bit disgusting. I don't know if I had it correct the first time, but this is what I'm trying to say. Hope it's understandable now. So what you want to do is you want to just put Danny at send.highlevelclinic by default. If you try to exclude this, well, it's already going to send through this. So then it's just going to put it to the end, and it's just going to look big and disgusting. So what you want to do is you want to just save these settings. And I recommend you really do this through the workflow level. And you actually add it there. Or there's going to be a different option, which I'm going to show you in a second. But what you want to do is you just send yourself a email. This is going to be the throwaway email that I've mentioned previously. I'm going to send an email to this. And already check this one. Okay, it looks like it delivered fine this time. As you can see, it's the correct domain. As you can see, the reply is correct also. This is actually, I'm going to get this, right? Because this is like literally my workspace email. So if someone replies to this, it won't be coming to this one, which I can't really access. It's going to be coming to my real workspace email. And as you can see, it's mailed and signed and encrypted and everything's good with this. Let's just double check if these things passed. But yes, of course they did. So it's amazing. If I don't really add a bunch of links, add a bunch of inline images, have like stupid sending times and, reach the hard limits and the stuff which we talked about already, this should be delivered like a lot of times, this email, because it has nothing fishy about it. Okay, and finally, emails, okay, the stuff which actually will move the needle. If you go into marketing and click emails over here, this is where you're going to be sending most of your emails. So you want to do anything pretty much. Like, this is going to be your hub for emails. Most of it is pretty self-explanatory, but I'm just going to walk you through how you would maybe make a campaign. So usually you can just take a template. HighLevel has a bunch of templates, so I'm just going to click email marketing template. Let's just go with this nail salon promotion one. You can preview it if you want to see what it's going to be like. You can see that this template is like this. And then you can make like an email marketing thing out of this. Cool, so now it's open. As you can see, we need to rewrite a bunch of this stuff because it's like codes and stuff that doesn't really exist yet. But this is pretty much the builder for the mail part of HighLevel. There's a bunch of custom values as well. You can either make sure that these, obviously like the time one is going to be right. The location name, this is going to be your business name in your business profile. Location email is going to be your business email in your business profile. Most of it is self-explanatory and should already be set up. But if it isn't, you can just like rewrite the code and actually write the thing in yourself. Other than that, this is going to be very similar to what we're going to be talking about in the website section. You can do the padding, you can do the margins, you can do the URL if you want to change the images. You can click the button and you can change it there. What I mostly recommend is keeping it quite simple. Some good rules of thumb is keep the colors limited, only a few. As you can see, this is pretty good design-wise. There's only black and different shades of pink. There's not much to overwhelm you. It's pretty well structured and formatted. Now, there's not too many links, there's not too many buttons, not too many images. And all of the things that there are, it makes quite a lot of sense. So as I said, like Google has an algorithm which scans through all of the formatting as well and scans through all of the content. This isn't using too fishy words. Now, obviously like code and limited time and stuff isn't the greatest, but it is an offer. So sometimes you're just going to have to take the L and say this kind of stuff, right? So all in all, like these emails are going to be good. Like they're going to be pretty damn good. There's a reason these are the like top templates. You can change this stuff if you want. You can see that there's a builder. You can preview it on your phone. You can preview it on your desktop. The preview is actually up here, and but it's going to be much the same. And you can pretty much add anything here. Now, I'm not going to go over every single one because, again, it's pretty self-explanatory, and I don't know exactly what kind of copy you want to write. Now, something is obviously that which you want to make are going to be like emails for booking and emails for confirming your call and stuff like this. But that's already been talked about. That's in the calendar part. These are just going to be the stuff you're going to be sending out to retarget people, to reactivate them, to keep them nurtured, to onboard them and stuff like that, which is obviously going to be very custom, and you're going to be typing out your stuff here, like the login codes and God knows what, right? You can add like review links. Obviously, you're going to have to add the custom link here. You can add like a bunch of things. Don't think there's much of a point in me going through every single one of these things. I'm going to go through pretty much every single one of them in the websites because you're going to be spending a lot of time there, most likely. But when it comes to emails, it's really self-explanatory, and HighLevel have done an amazing job at making this as streamlined as possible. So we're just going to look over the actual settings to make sure that these are getting delivered and these are working correctly. So let's click into the settings here. And as you can see, again, just as in the workflow, you have to kind of set the email and the name, which this stuff will be arriving from. I would go with the same exact thing that I set up in the workflow. There's a reason we did that. I would go danny@send.highlevelclinic.com. This should work perfectly. Subject is going to be obviously the subject of the email, the kind of title. Preview text is actually something that gets overlooked quite a lot. This is going to be the part which is actually visible. Right, so this is going to be quite a short part, but what I would do is I would just type in like an enticing and thought-provoking kind of sentence here, and if it gets cut off, it gets cut off, but just make sure the first few words kind of give you the gist of what this email will be about, right? So we can send a test email here. I'm just going to type hello 123, and wow, this is insane. And I'm going to save that stuff. Once the template is saved, we can actually send a test email with this. So let's do that. We're going to send to the same throwaway email just to make sure that this is insane. As you can see, this stuff has already been auto-filled since we just set it on the level of the email itself, which is, again, what I recommend you all do. And let's see if this delivers and is set up correctly. Now, the problem with this is that it came into the promotion tab. which isn't the end of the world, but as you can see, and as we talked about this, it has a lot of marketing-y language. It delivered fine, which is cool. And as you can see, like at the time, this is my business name. That's the reason it's just my name. And like this stuff works correctly, and it's a nice website. Obviously, the buttons aren't going to be working because I haven't coded them to take me anywhere. But it came into promotion, so that's why you want to be kind of careful with the formatting and content. But if we're just going to check this for, did it deliver and did it deliver correctly? The answer is an unequivocal yes. Yes, you can see the subject, all of the text, the signature, the email, all of this stuff, the reply to even, all of this is correct. And if we look into the show original part again to see if all of this passed, it did. So deliverability wise, pretty much all of the sections, all of the stuff we can talk about, it's amazing. Only thing is like wording and content, but the thing is I haven't like rewritten this at all, which is going to be up to you to do because I don't know what you're going to be wanting to send emails on. That's how to kind of make an email. But if you want to string emails together to make them into campaigns, this is where you're going to come. Okay, let's look at the settings here. Of course, firstly, the attribution window is kind of like when it's going to be collecting statistics and attributes and stuff from the campaigns. Verified sender emails. You can verify emails one by one here, but we already ticked that. Sender preferences. This is where we're going to be setting the stuff for like the fuck, I can't speak. The stuff that we've already done, like the email level stuff. So we're just going to type Danny at send.highlevelclinic.com. As you can see, this is a verified email, and the reply to is also going to be set by us, which is just going to be the regular highlevelclinic.com. Cool. We want to save that. Obviously, we don't have a recipient to that, only if we're testing. We're not going to do that now. The fonts, we can say fonts. You can add fonts. You can enable tracking. These tracking links do slightly decrease the deliverability. Again, like links do tend to do fine, and there isn't a red flag with them, but the more you add, the more suspicious it is. And the unsubscribe, this is very important, okay? So you want to add one step unsubscribe to every email, okay? Because this is very important. You want to make unsubscribing as easy as possible. And if we just look at this preview, if someone clicks this, it's instantly unsubscribed, and then they can add why. Now you could go with two-step, where they require to confirm their email address, but like, there's really no point in doing that, in my opinion. So I think just go with one step. Or you could go with dynamic, but this doesn't make too much sense to me. Maybe I'm not as locked in as I once thought I was, but like it will go with the one step only if, it will go with the two step only if the person is unsubscribing 5 minutes after subscribing to your email, which means they just like claim the freebie, and in that case they want to make it a bit harder, which does kind of make sense. But then again, like if someone wants to unsubscribe, just let them. I'm really of that philosophy, because if you're going to be sending out emails and they don't want to be on your list, it's going to be a long day for you. Okay, like you're harassing them, but it's going to backfire on you miserably. So I would just go with the one step. I've always gone with the one step, and it's worked out brilliantly for me. So I recommend you do the same. Now, if we're talking about actual campaigns to send out, you can check your workflows, and like for the sake of having all of the emails campaigns in one place, they've also added access to your workflows here. But if you're just adding an email campaign, let's say not like a sign up, not like a campaign like this where you want to nurture them based on some kind of trigger, and then you also want to weave in like SMS, and then you want to wait and conditional stuff like in the workflows, which we're going to be talking about in a second. But if you want to just add a regular campaign, you want to send emails to someone for the next 2 weeks, every other day, you just got to go to email campaigns and click on create campaign. So this will automatically take you to your templates. I just want to like select the one which we worked with because that's set up correctly, and obviously I haven't changed it, but like this is just for demonstration purposes. You want to change it if you haven't already made this email to look exactly like you want. But what you want to do once it's done, you want to go to send or schedule, and here you want to actually set it up in a way which is good for you. So the send now obviously makes it send now. There isn't too much rocket science involved in this. As you can see, it saved all of our settings which we set up previously, which is really nice. You can select who you send it to. So you can choose the contacts one by one. You can send it to a smart list, which we've already talked about what it is. you can choose contacts from the tags that they have. So if you didn't sort them into the lists, if you have an automation where based on their preferences or based on their answers to a certain form or survey, they get established and they get tagged, you can send it to specific people with tags. You can send it to people with pre-built segments, and you can also send them to segments which you build in here. Okay, you're probably going to be using either this, or maybe this, but like these two are going to be the most common for the most part. They're the ones I use. And yeah, let's move on. If you want to schedule them, this is pretty much the same exact thing, but we have a schedule at time here, and all the other stuff is exactly the same. Batch schedule just means that if you have a list and you know how big your list is, let's say it's 500 people, let's say you would go 50 people every single hour. And that means throughout the day, through 10 hours, you would get this batch schedule, which might be a lot healthier for your email, especially if your email is new. RSS schedule means like regular scheduling. All you would do here is you would, like, as you can see, when should we send it out? Every day for this amount of time. It's pretty self-explanatory. It's just going to be for like podcast scheduling and shit like this. And Smart Send, it's going to be sending this stuff at the best time when your emails are, when the people on your email list are checking your stuff out, when the people on your email list are active, right? As you can see, it's not letting us do this here because we've only sent 5 emails and all of those emails were tests. It doesn't have enough data to know when I'm active, and it doesn't have enough data to pretty much know anything about me, anything about my audience, so to speak. So what we would do is we would probably just go with schedule for now. Once we have a decent list, I would go with batch schedule. And if I'm feeling adventurous, maybe I would try out Smart Send, because this could be something that does improve your deliverability. So this is how you would create one post. Well, then here you would review and schedule it. You would save it. You'd go back to your email builder and actually back to your campaigns. And then, as you can see, we have this one thing here. And then you would add another one, okay? And then let's add another one. Let's click on new. Let's click on my templates. And let's select this one. This one isn't optimized. I'm not going to really schedule it or anything, but if I was to do it, I would do the exact same thing. Let's say I would schedule it to like 3 days later. Let's say the first thing was like a welcome email. This is like a guide email on how to use my service or whatever the case may be. And I would schedule this to be 2 days later again. I would make sure that this is set up correctly. So if I haven't set it up within the template, within the sender settings and stuff like this, I would set it up here to have this and this and this and this correct, to make sure that I'm maximizing my reach and everything, and my open rate and all that stuff. Also, the spam score thing is coming soon. I'm really excited for this because, yeah, this looks exciting, where it can not only tell if you have set up your email DNS and stuff correctly, it can also tell based on the formatting how spammy this is, which is super helpful, because this is like quite intangible. I talked to you about links, about inline images, about these MIME parts and stuff like this, but like, if HighLevel itself tells you how spammy it is, that's just the most helpful thing ever. So yeah, you would schedule this and then it would appear in your email campaign, and yeah, we can just go back and you would see like a few day long campaign or whatever the case may be here. And it's nice, right? This is how your campaign would look like. Now, for the most part, what I would do is I would just go and start a workflow campaign, honestly, because these are, in my opinion, much more controllable. So you can also, in your workflow, take the template which you made, which is already 100% set up, and you can schedule it there. And also, what the workflow thing does is it isn't tied to a certain time. So if you had like a newsletter, like your James Clear or one of these guys, and you're sending at the exact same time, like you can schedule that in here, in the email campaign, sorry. But if you're doing something like a sign-up campaign, like someone signs up with your software or signs up with your offer or whatever the case may be, whatever your product is, and you want to kind of onboard them, this is probably the most useful, because first of all, you're not only limited to email, you can also weave in SMSs there, and you can also weave in other forms of contact. But other than that, like, it's dependent from the time in which they start with you. So this would send at a very specific time, like 6 p.m. EST on the 20th of January, whereas this will send exactly 2 days after you signed up. And it will only send to you. Like, for every person, it would send exactly a certain amount of time after they signed up. We're going to be talking about workflow campaigns, but in my opinion, these make a lot more sense, or at least they have a lot more use cases than email campaigns. So this will be the biggest thing we focus on. I'll give you a bunch of examples when we get onto automations, but for now, that's pretty much everything you need to know about emails. Now, the penultimate thing I want to mention is, as you can see, this warm-up is in progress. And if you remember this tab from when I added this is what you will see every single time. Once the SSL gets issued, you will see that you're in a phase of warming up. And this is what I mentioned in the presentation. This can be shortcutted by just like signing up for a service like Apollo or Email Warm-Up or Instantly. And these pages, with I think they're all paid, they will do it for you. They'll pretty much send... What they do is they have a bunch of people signing up and a bunch of addresses that will start sending to each other very legit like emails in a sequenced manner to make sure that they're sending and slowly ramping up that sending volume from like 10 emails a day, 20 emails, 30, whatever the case may be. And they're warming up and they're making sure that their reputation is intact. And in a few days, in a few weeks, maybe they will have a very strong sender reputation to the point where you can send like thousands of emails a day, maybe hundreds, somewhere around there, right? You're going to be sending a bunch a day and all of it's going to get delivered. But this is very important to actually warm your email inbox up, because right now you're a stranger, even though you've authenticated, like anyone could do what you've done so far. So you have to kind of prove to the domain that, hey, you're here to stay, you're actually real, you're going to be sending real stuff, and you have to warm up. Now, you can do this for yourself by just sending a few emails out, maybe to your friends and family, just to get a few dozen in, first of all. But then you have to kind of still slow down, and you still have to be kind of slow, especially for the first few weeks, especially before you reach 1,000. Then you're not going to send 1,000 to your fucking friends and family. So the biggest thing I recommend for yourself is start small. If you buy a big list, don't send it to all of them. Send only a few dozen a day. Send only maybe a few hundred a day if you're already a few weeks in, okay? So what you want to do is you want to batch your emails. That's why I showed you how to batch them. If you're actually sending out through that campaign, use that kind of batching method. If you're sending out through a workflow, maybe you can sequence, maybe you can make your lists smaller, your smart lists, and send only to those lists. Maybe if you're sending manually, you can only send like only a few dozen a day. The point is, make your own method of warming them up and don't send a shit ton in the beginning. If you want to go back to the presentation, I showed an image of how much HighLevel recommends. I would recommend staying below those, because those are quite optimistic as well, in my opinion. And yeah, just make sure to take it one day at a time. I'm not saying you should only send out fucking 20 emails a day, because that's quite little, but you should be very wary of how much emails you send out, and it should definitely not be in the thousands on the first day, okay? And the final thing I want to talk about is unsubscribing. If you go to your business profile within your sub account and you scroll down, you should be able to see this make email compliant by adding unsubscribe link to your email. If you have this ticked on, you don't really have anything to worry about. All you should make sure is that this is getting put at the end of every email. This will automatically be put at the end of every single email if you have this on. But if you look at these templates, for example, what these templates will do is they will make their custom unsubscribe links. So, for example, at the bottom of this, you can see you can unsubscribe from this list by clicking here, obviously, but it didn't say by clicking here. The way they do these is they add a link to the text, which is email unsubscribe. This is what you want to be adding. So if you want to make it actually look nice, and you want to have it not just be this blank HTML text that's like Arial 11 fonts, just looks nasty at the end of your email, this is what you do. You write something out like, if you no longer wish to receive these emails, click here to unsubscribe. And you can just, I don't know, highlight the here and add this link to it. And every single time this happens, let's just hop into my email to preview this. Every time you look at an email that came from here and you want to click on this, it will bring you to this message in the website, which is the unsubscribe. And since we have it on a one-click unsubscribe, all you need to do is click it once and then you're successful. Then they get the option to submit why they unsubscribed, which you can also look at in the email analytics. But yeah, that's all you need to know to stay compliant. Make sure this is added to every single email without exception. And then not only will you stay compliant, but your user-reported spam queries will also significantly reduce. So that's how you stay compliant. That's the whole video on email systems. Incredibly important one. Incredibly importantly, watch all the way through. So congratulations to you if you did. We went over adding all of the DNS records, good practices, setting up your HighLevel account, going through some of the workflow email settings, finishing up with the campaign settings, email marketing, and actually setting up your templates and full-on campaigns inside of there. So All you need to do apart from this is the unsubscribing, staying compliant, and reducing your bounce rates, reducing your hard bounces, soft bounces, your quarantines, your spams, all of this stuff. But HighLevel's making it easier and easier every single day. If you haven't yet, look at the PDF that I have in the description. That is your quick list. You should have it all ticked off by now, because you watched this video and hopefully you did every single thing I told you. But if you haven't done it yet, you just watched this first, to kind of learn about what to do, what not to do. You should look at that or rewatch this video when you're actually setting your account up, and make sure you have everything you're doing the test, which I did in this video. And other than that, yeah, have a good time delivering your emails, and see you in the next video.